Hey Waffle Gang, I do hope you are well. My name is Mark and today we're checking out some more Reddit stories. And if you do love a Reddit story, why not consider a like, subscribe, maybe that notification bell too. And let's crack on with today's first story. Much love guys. Now today's first story comes from Sweet Seraph and the Am I the Arsehole Here subreddit. A quick trigger warning before we do get into today's first story. It does contain miscarriage within the story, so if you do want to skip it, please feel free to do so. Timestamps are always down in the description and along the timeline below. Thank you. It's titled, Am I the Arsehole Here for expecting my husband to protect me from his mother without a written invitation? I, 29 female, lost my pregnancy 3 weeks ago at 11 weeks along. It would have been baby number 2. My daughter just turned 2. My husband, 34 male, has been incredible. The kind of man who reads bedtime stories in funny voices and still checks on me mid-breakdown without being asked. After I lost the baby, I told him plainly, nobody sets foot in this house until I say I'm ready. He agreed on the spot. My sister, who usually comes by twice a week to spoil her niece, backed off the second she heard, sending sweet check-in texts instead of showing up. Simple. Everyone got it. Everyone except, apparently, my mother-in-law. She has a standing Sunday brunch. She insists on hosting in my kitchen every week using a spare key she was never supposed to have. This is a woman who told me 4 days postpartum that I bounced back slower than she did. When I was 7 months pregnant with my daughter, she looked at the nursery we'd just finished and said, I wouldn't get too attached to that color scheme. You never know with these things. Well, my husband stood right there and said nothing. She calls my daughter a handful to her face and snatches snacks out of her hands as a joke. Not one kind word to me in 9 years. So when my blanket nobody comes over rule didn't seem to register as including her, I figured it was a fluke. It was not. Last Sunday, I heard her key turn in the lock while I was crying on the bathroom floor, and she breezed in like nothing was wrong. When I confronted my husband, he said I should have named her specifically, that it wasn't fair to expect him to just know. Even though he knows about the key, the brunches, the nursery comment that gutted me in real time. I told him a blanket rule shouldn't need a footnote for the one person who's hurt me the most. He says I'm being unreasonable and that he can't read minds. Am I the arsehole here for assuming nobody comes over obviously included the woman with an unauthorized key to my house? I feel like husband is just trying to hide behind a technicality basically, because nobody comes over until I'm ready is about as clear as it gets. But for me, as we see in quite often in these stories, the bigger issue is that this wasn't a one-off misunderstanding. OP listed years of comments and crossing boundaries that her husband has witnessed but never actually dealt with it at all. His mother didn't suddenly become intrusive after the miscarriage or whatever. She's been crossing lines all the time. So whilst yes, you do have a mother-in-law problem, at the same time you have a husband problem as well. Commenter says, have the locks changed immediately. She's heartless and your husband is definitely the arsehole. Opie says the locks are getting changed Monday, no discussion. Reading she's heartless typed out by a stranger honestly still hit different than it should have. And the husband part, I want to defend him, I really do. But I've been sitting with, you should have specified for days now, and it just keeps sounding worse the more I replay it. Since when does grief need a legal disclaimer to be respected? Maybe you're right. Maybe he's the arsehole too. I didn't want to believe both people I trusted with my house let me down the same week. Morbid says, even if your mother-in-law was the kindest, most angelic and supportive person on this planet, and you wanted to spend every second of every day with her, nobody means nobody. Why the fuck wouldn't it include her? Is there someone else outside of the people who live in your house that your husband would have assumed the ban didn't apply to? It doesn't make any fucking sense. He's either spineless, obtuse, or both. Why should you have specified when it's obvious he understood that the blanket ban applied to everyone else? Why should she have been an exception, especially given the fact that she's cruel and selfish? Commenter says, not the arsehole, husband keeps failing you. Your husband needs to grow a backbone and put his mother in her place. He needs to set boundaries with his mum. Start by sending a group text to mother-in-law, husband, and you/tell her you do not appreciate her disrespecting your boundaries over and over again. Her comments about your body and refinance are rude and uncalled for. She doesn't respect your rules for your own child and treats her badly. Till she learns to treat you and your daughter with love and respect, she is not welcome in your home or in your lives. All future communications will go through your husband if needed. Then block her. If anyone else tries to defend her, say you're the problem and then they also get blocked. Change the locks tomorrow and don't give her a key. You can even do a digital code. Everyone gets a different, I'm assuming it's code, so you know who told her, or fingerprint scanner lock. I'm so sorry for your loss. Hugs. Opie says, reading this through actual tears. You're right that I keep making excuses for him. He just doesn't want conflict with his mum. He's not used to standing up to her. Like that's supposed to make it hurt less. It doesn't. Locks are getting changed first thing tomorrow morning, not waiting till Monday anymore, and I love the code idea. That way, I never have to guess who let her in again. I haven't sent the group text yet, but I've got it typed out in my notes app just sitting there. Terrified to send it, but also so tired of being the only one protecting this house. Thank you for the hug. I really needed it today. The Opie comes back in 5 days later with an update. I said a few people asked for an update, so here it is. Quick recap if you missed the original post. Lost my pregnancy at 11 weeks, told my husband nobody comes over until I say so, and his mother let herself into our house anyway with the key she was never supposed to have. When I confronted him, he said I should have named her specifically. The verdict was overwhelmingly not the arsehole, but a lot of you gave me the same advice. Name her, put it in writing, take away every excuse. So I did. Texting her myself with him standing right there. No coming over until I invite her, brunch included. He said that should do it. It did not. 4 days later, I found her unloading groceries onto my counter like she'd finally gotten that written invitation herself. And when I asked why she was in my house, she told me I needed to move around more, that moping wouldn't bring a baby back, that it wasn't really a baby yet this early anyway, all while putting my own eggs away in my own fridge. Oh, that cheeky bastard. I called my husband, and for the first time, he didn't ask me to calm down before telling him what happened, just to repeat exactly what she had said. He walked into the kitchen and told her to leave and hand over the key on her way out, in a voice I'd never heard from him before. She cried, called it an ambush, and has since told his sister I've cut her off from her own grandchild, which isn't true and which she's already corrected twice. Her locks got changed that same afternoon. He apologized for real this time and admitted he spent years excusing comments that never needed excusing, and that hearing one aimed at me about this was the first time he couldn't manage it. I believe him. I just can't stop noticing that it took a cruelty to his face for a rule I'd already stated plainly to finally count. So, am I the arsehole here for still feeling like something's a little broken between us, even though he did exactly what he should have done the moment he actually witnessed it himself? Dazzling says to OP, you are not the arsehole. Your feelings are valid, and I'm very sorry for your loss. OP says thank you, genuinely. Outside of my sister, strangers on this post have managed sorry for your loss with more sincerity than my mother-in-law has in 3 weeks, 10 minutes away. Still sitting with the rest of it, but this actually helped. Another commenter says, this is a rare one. Good for you for laying out your boundaries so clearly and good for your husband for backing you up. I bet you feel like a huge weight is off your shoulders. Kudos. Opie says, glad to hear it. The boundary part, yes, real progress. The weight off my shoulders part is more complicated. Hard to feel pure relief when it took her being that cruel to my face for him to finally act instead of just believing me the first time. Getting there though. Commenter says, when you have a mother as overbearing as she is, sometimes it takes something really undeniably blatant to finally see her real face. Brilliant says, I agree with this. Yes, husband should have believed his wife, but she has likely manipulated him, walked all over him his entire life, so it complicates the situation. However, the fact that he stood up to her and backed OP up as soon as it was irrefutable is very encouraging. Commenter replies saying extremely, some people never see the light. Old Ninja says not the arsehole, but he stepped up finally. Your mother-in-law is a handful. Oh my fucking god, the nerve of her. Opie says yeah, he finally stepped up and I'm relieved he did. I just wish it hadn't taken something that cruel for him to see, but I've been trying to tell him all along. And my mother-in-law, I don't think I'll ever get over the audacity of letting herself into my house and acting like she belonged there after everything. One more commenter says, try to see it as he had to break through, of up to 30 years of conditioning and breaking him down weighing on top of him. Now that he's broken through, that wall and has seen the light, everything will become obvious to him. Is an interesting one, and I'm with the comments on this as well. The marriage isn't magically fixed just because the husband has finally done the right thing. You know, the locks have been changed, they took the key and he backed his wife in that moment, and admitted it spent years minimizing his mother's behavior, which is meaningful, and I think they do deserve some credit, right? I can also understand why OP's still hurt, because it wasn't that he eventually stood up to his mother, it was that he only believed his wife after witnessing it firsthand, which of course is going to knock OP back. She's been telling him for years about these comments and how her behavior's overstepped. And it's taken for this point, that absolutely vile comment, for him to finally take action. But that said, again, with the comments, it's not always that easy. And I get that because I always say it in these stories that the husband, if you've been raised by someone that's manipulative and overbearing as his mother, it might take that one vile comment to actually break that years of, or decades even, of conditioning. And hopefully he continues down that path and they're able to rebuild from that in the end. But what do you guys make of this situation? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. And let's move on to another story. Now, our next story, it comes from Melodious Ballerina and Hidden Fairy 2 from the Relationship Advice subreddit. It is titled, My 31 female, husband 27 male, left suddenly, and I can't bring myself to hate him. This past Tuesday, my husband decided to leave me. We'd been together for almost 4 years, married for 9 months. When I met him at work, we immediately clicked. After a few days of work together, he told me that he was living in an unhealthy situation in order to receive free housing. I invited him to come stay with my mother and I, so that he was safe. This arrangement lasted for about a year, until he came to me and said he didn't think our relationship could continue if we kept living with my mum. Despite her being my only family, I chose him, and we moved in together. In the new apartment, I'd asked him to help with rent, just to be fair. There were a few months where he could help, but a good amount where he couldn't. I looked past it because I was very much enamored with him. We moved twice again, with my mum and a new roommate. My health started to decline drastically, causing me to have to be cautious about where I could work. He started cooking for me, as he knew that it would hurt for me to do things as simple as standing up. Yet again, he struggled to pay rent. It was taking a toll on me since I couldn't work. I asked him to find a part-time job to do when we weren't booked for any acting jobs. He didn't want to work at a place that he didn't enjoy. I was thankful for him taking care of me, so I didn't want to push it. In our new and current apartment, I was diagnosed with a 4mm pineostoma, a slow-growing benign tumor in the pineal gland of the brain. Due to my constant headaches, I was incapable of doing a lot of things. My husband took on a lot of responsibility in taking care of me, and I always thanked him, but my savings were dwindling bad. I told him that I needed him to get a job, and I would try to find a low-stimulation job for myself that I could handle. I was getting rejected from every application that I was sending. He continued to be picky about where he worked and settled on a valet job that would have him work 10 hours a week. When we got back from our honeymoon, we found out that our government assistance, EDD, food stamps, had been cut off. He said that he didn't want to rely on government assistance anymore. I had to tell him that we had to get really picky with our finances, and he told me that my take on finances depressed him because his belief was that money comes and goes in waves, and if you're scared to spend it, you're going to lose it. This was the first time I'd ever seen his behavior towards me change. He became more withdrawn, and we started having more tension. He soon started making hurtful comments. I told him that those things deeply hurt my feelings. He apologized and I forgave him and we moved on. After that, things seemed to improve. He continued helping take care of me and occasionally contributed to rent. At times he seemed withdrawn and spent a lot of time by himself. But whatever, I asked if something was wrong. He reassured me that everything was okay. About 2 weeks before he left, I told him I felt some distance between us and asked if he was still happy in the relationship. He told me he was. In the days leading up to the breakup, he continued saying he loved me, initiating intimacy, cuddling with me, and making plans for our move. Tuesday morning, I noticed that he wasn't in bed when I woke up at 7 a.m. I came out to see if he was okay, and he hung up the phone when I entered the room. He told me to go back to bed. When I woke up again later, I tried to make him breakfast. He said he didn't want it, and then went outside for a while. I got worried and went to find him pacing outside while on the phone. When I approached him, he started giving the person on the phone one-word answers. He even held my hand as we walked back to our apartment. I asked him if he was leaving. He couldn't even look me in the eyes when he said yes. I begged for him to stay. I told him that I would do anything. He said that I have too much baggage and trauma related to my mum and that I rely on my disability to get me out of things. He said that we were incompatible and that I was never ready for a relationship. He said that I don't show enough gratitude and that he had to do what's best for him. Of all the issues that he mentioned, only 2 of them were discussed with me, and he never told me that there was something that he considered leaving the relationship over. He never mentioned that they were too much for him to handle. He just told me that everything was fine. Yesterday I found out that his friends had been telling him to leave for months, but he never brought it up or acted like anything was wrong. My friends, family, and even his father have been telling me the same thing. But I told them that I couldn't because I love him so much. I'm heartbroken and struggling to make sense of this. I keep replaying everything in my head because just days before he left, he was telling me he loved me, planning our move and acting like everything was okay. Has anyone experienced something similar? How did you process it and begin healing when the breakup seemed to come out of nowhere? The first commenter said to OP, and it was brutal, it says, "You've been feeding a parasite. He has now found another dinner." Another one says, "Dude was a homosexual and left when he had to work for his accommodation." So at this point, the husband comes in. It says, "Update from husband. I male 27, left my wife female 30, and she's upset. Posting under an anonymous account so they can't be found. Yes, I know she's already posted in here. I would like to share my side. Last week, I left my wife, married less than a year, due to financial hardship and feeling like I wasn't good enough for her. We'd been together for 4 years, and within the first 2 years, things were great. My mother-in-law started to get on me about my responsibilities, and it made me feel suffocated. I told my wife, at the time girlfriend, and she agreed to move out with me. I will be honest, she footed a lot of the bills. She received an inheritance from her grandmum and agreed to help me pay it first. When we moved into our own place, I helped with bills as much as I could, but work fluctuated a lot. She seemed to understand. We were deeply in love and very happy. We did everything together. After a year, we had to move back in with her mum because we couldn't afford to live on our own. I agreed to it because I understood that she was struggling financially, so I tried to put my feelings about her mum aside. We remained happy. About a year later, my wife, then girlfriend, started to get sick easily. She had frequent headaches and was diagnosed with autism. I took her to the doctor often, but they would just tell her to eat healthier and hydrate. I helped cook and clean for her. Sometimes she would almost pass out standing up from the pain. Our mutual friend moved in around this time too and helped take care of her, which really helped me. We talked and decided that we were basically already married and tied the knot. I guess this is when my feelings started to change. It felt weird being married and living with other people. I tried to explain to her that we had a future as adults and needed to move on from our mutual friend and her mum, but she kept bringing up that we couldn't afford to live on our own. My friends were trying to help me find an affordable pool house or something of the sort that we could live in, but she told me that $2,000 was too much for her to take on her own. This was hurtful to me, as I was trying my best to help cover my side of the finances. We moved away from our friend, but kept her mum with us because we were still struggling financially. Her health was getting worse and worse and she was diagnosed with a brain tumor. I stayed by her side and got a part-time job to try and help with rent because she couldn't work, but my boss was only willing to give me a certain amount of hours per week. I tried to apply to any job that I could find that would suit my abilities, but nobody would reach out, or if they did, it was a scam. I started to feel like I was in an endless cycle of having to take care of her and find a job. I had to drive her places and help with chores. I knew deep down that she couldn't help it, but the pressure was getting to be too much on me. Her mum wasn't helping at all because she's disabled too, and that frustrated me because she was capable of driving her places, but she refused to and used the excuse that her hip was hurting. She got surgery on it last year and it didn't heal right. I asked my friends that I've known for 8 years and have always been there for me what to do. They told me that she was taking advantage of her illness and taking my willingness to help her for granted. They said that the relationship wasn't healthy for me and that I should leave. My friend offered me his living room for the time being, and I took time to think about it. My friends discussed with me that the reason she was so willing to let me take care of her was because of her past trauma, and that she didn't have her parents to take care of her while she was growing up, and that's also why she didn't know how to thank me for it. She did say thank you every time, but sometimes forgot please or would expect for me to do small things for her like filling up her water bottle because her head was hurting. I didn't know how to talk to her about this without hurting her feelings, as she is autistic and very sensitive. All of this took a toll on me, and I felt like I couldn't be my own person because I was so busy taking care of her or looking for a job. There was also the stress of having her mum there constantly belittling me, telling me what to do and taking advantage of the fact that I would come to her for advice. I feel like she would guilt trip me into taking her car places so that she would have something to hold over me. I didn't know how to leave without hurting her. I called my friends that morning. She saw me outside and started crying and asked if I was leaving, and I told her yes. She begged for me to stay and even said she would leave her mum, but she didn't know the pressure that I was under and that I couldn't handle it anymore. Her mum threatened me and said that I better be gone by the time she gets back. Her best friend also threatened me. None of my friends had ever done that to her. She texted me yesterday asking for clarity, and I told her that for now our marriage is over and I would like to be civil and friendly and that we need to grow as individuals. She sent back a really long message saying that it wasn't fair for her to have to do that because I didn't acknowledge my own role in what happened, not just hers. She ended the message by attacking my best friend, saying that I should heal on my own and not with someone who, in her words, has taken advantage of me. She also won't stop texting me asking for me to get my things, but I have nowhere to put them as I'm trying to find a new home and I'm selling my car. She has also been texting my friend asking about my cat and saying that it's unsafe for him to be left with my friend who is disabled because he can't take care of him properly. I'm trying to be civil and kind while also giving her answers, but I'm hurting too. What do I say to her? What am I supposed to do? Commenter says to the husband, sounds to me like you were the one using your wife. She had money that she inherited and you didn't have a full-time job, so she was covering your bills. Now that she's out of money, you want to leave. Bluebeard's wife says, you're about to learn a hard lesson. You are way more reliant on your wife more than you know. Make a post when the friends stop letting you crash at their place and you realize you have nothing stable financially in your life. Pretty please. So at this point, the wife actually responds and says, just because you changed the password doesn't mean that I don't remember the username to this account. You never communicated anything about my behavior being too much for you. The only thing you did was tell me that I needed to take Ubers or public transit to get to and from wherever I needed to go because you couldn't drive me everywhere. I told you that, finances permitting, I was willing to take Ubers to work. I text your friends about Cosmo because you've been shuffling him around from friend to friend and took him out the environment that he was used to out of spite and supposed fear of my mum not giving him back to you, which I wouldn't allow to happen, despite the fact that you stole her phone and traded it in to get yourself a new one. You literally have my number. You could have just texted all this. No Fudge says, lady, please don't take him back. This is a terrible human being who's been using you. He may be the one with a brain tumor, but he is entirely without a brain or any redeeming quality. Seriously, he's going to come back when he gets kicked out, make up some sob story about guilt, how his friends influenced him, and how you should take him back. You're his meal ticket. If you take him back, that's the worst thing you can do to yourself. Get therapy, focus on your health, and stay away from him. OP, the wife, comes in 3 days later with an update. My ex-husband finally came to get his stuff today, and I was able to try and get him to talk about the reasons why he left. The main reason is because I chose to stay friends with my friend who was honest about having no respect for him due to his behavior towards me and his ongoing issues of expecting things from others. He said that he didn't see us being able to be together as none of my support system liked him and the two of them had threatened him for abandoning me when things got hard. He also continued to say that I have trauma from my mum, but wouldn't give me examples of how. He told me that I should learn to live on my own and rent a room to learn how to take care of myself without my mother's help, and that I believe her too much when she tells me that I'm too fragile for specific things because of my autism, he claims. There was one point where he said that it filled him with rage to see that my friend who didn't respect him was still being my support system, to which I responded that without that support system, I would have hurt myself when he left. I told him that I wasn't saying that to guilt trip him or make him feel bad, and he simply said, I don't feel bad. I feel like my heart has been ripped out. Basically, he said that he felt he wasn't capable of giving me the care that I needed, and that this was a mutual split, and that he hopes that I can learn from this and heal. Above all, I still feel pain in my heart that I can't get rid of. How do I get myself to stop romanticizing the best parts of him and wishing that he would come back? So we have another update in a moment, but Substantial Maybe 371 says, I read your previous post. You seem to have very little self-confidence, letting the grown man live off you for free for years. He said money comes and money goes. That's easy for him to say since it was your money. You never contributed. I honestly don't think he ever really loved you. He just loved that he could use you and you willingly let him. His excuses for leaving are BS. He just got tired of having to put the effort in to take care of you. So he probably sold someone else a sob story and told them his home situation wasn't healthy. So he found someone else to leech off. How do you stop romanticizing him? Listen to your good friends. They saw him for what he was. I know you're financially struggling right now, but I hope there is a way to get into therapy. Figure out why you let this man walk all over you and use you for years, because that was not a healthy relationship. He was not a good man. Opie says, I thought that he loved me. We connected so easily the first time that we met. He was my entire world. Truthful Boy says to OP, you like the fantasy of him and the fantasy of the relationship. You didn't actually like who he is because the reality of who he is a homosexual who was basically extorting you for cash and treating you badly, using Darvo every second. Start feeling angry. Start start feeling love for yourself and snap out of it and find therapy to learn what a healthy relationship looks like. This is Davo," and then shares the link. Commenter says, "No person should ever be your entire world. That's not healthy." To which OP responded, the wife of course, saying, "Please keep in mind that I was diagnosed with a severe health condition that I don't have any information on. I've lost a significant amount of important people in my life prior to meeting this person. While I recognize that my attachment to him was unhealthy, it was my only constant throughout all these terrible things that kept happening to me." OK Class replies saying, "Can you do your own research or ask your doctor to learn more about your health condition? Sorry to hear about all the losses. Truly, it's never too late to heal emotionally. Put yourself at the center of your world and put in the work to love yourself more. Speaking from experience, my whole life changed as soon as I started doing wifey shit myself." Opie responded, saying, "Unfortunately, my doctor hadn't even told me to begin with. I found out through my radiology reports on the patient portal. She's been in no rush to do anything regarding getting more information or even helping solve the symptoms relating to the tumor." So the husband comes back in once again and says, "I picked up my things from my ex today. She came out with a friend who verbally attacked me before it made me realize that one of the main reasons that I left is because she chose a support system who did not respect me over me. I told her that I did not have time to talk, but she cornered me. She asked if there was any way to fix the relationship. I told her that I did not want to lead her on and that we both need to grow individually, but I do see us better off as friends. I brought up that seeing that her friend who attacked me was there, helping her made me realize how hurt I was, and she asked if that was why I left. I told her yes, the reason that I left is because she remained friends with someone who did not make me feel safe in my own home. She also continued to stay with her mum who never wanted us to work out and would say anything negative about me. Even her best friend hated me and threatened me when I left. She told me that if she did not have a support system, she would have hurt herself the day I left. And then she said that she wasn't trying to guilt trip me or make me feel bad. And I said, I don't feel bad. I told her that I want to remain friendly and amicable if we see each other on set, and then I told her that I had to go home. A half hour later, she texted me. Wanted to let you know that when I shared how important my support system was to my survival, and your response was, I don't feel bad, it was incredibly painful to hear. I just wanted you to understand the impact those words had on me. I've never felt less cared about than the moment that you said that to me. Thank you for letting me know where I really stood throughout our entire relationship, to the point where you can easily show so much disrespect and carelessness for someone who wanted nothing but the best for you within their entire time with you. I texted her back and told her that I meant I don't feel bad, as in we all need support people, but her support network constantly disrespects me, and I do not have the respect for that. Apparently, that did not land well. She attacked my best friend, bringing up the time that he called her a narcissist before meeting her, and that he says disrespectful things while pretending to care about me, and how she still respected him because of how much I care about him. She brought up how I would talk to my friends, and some of hers too, about our relationship, but because her support system was hurt by my actions, I expected her to leave them. She chose me over the friend that attacked me, and I told her that I didn't care if she was still friends with him. And she said that I made her feel like an asshole having to text him, that it was okay for them to be friends again after ditching him for me. Then she projected onto me and asked me what would happen if she left her mum too for me, and I abandoned her then too because it was still too much work for me. She ended the text by saying that she's the only one being made to take accountability for everything, and asked why it was necessary for her to isolate herself from her support system just to be good enough for me to stay. Projecting again. I read the messages, but I did not answer. My friend and sister told me to block her number and move on because she's a narcissist who can't accept the blame and wants to put it all on me. My sister had to block her because she kept messaging her, accusing me of needing therapy and help, and that my lack of empathy is concerning. She's also posting on her social media saying that I said that I don't feel bad about her almost hurting herself. What can I respond with to make her take accountability? A commenter says to this, the husband, apparently in sickness and in health meant nothing to you. I've read both sides' stories. I've met a lot of low-life men in my lifetime, but I think you take the cake. OP, the husband, says, it was not about her health. It was about her choosing a support system that constantly disrespected me over me. Well, I would never have done that to her if any of my friends acted the same way. Truth Fairy says, you don't know the meaning of the word accountability. God, you're insufferable. You abandon your wife for having a brain tumor. You are unhinged if you think that makes you a victim. You're literally the worst. Reptiles that eat their young have more moral fiber than this. By the way, your post made it to AITD. Congrats, which I'm assuming that is, am I the devil? OP replied saying, I'm a victim not because of her tumor, but because she, my wife, stayed friends with a person who called me a terrible friend and a shitty person, and did not make me feel safe in my own home. If any of my friends did that to her, I would abandon them. Rosa Fair says, that's exactly what your friend did to her, yet for some reason you're applying a double standard here. Her friend's right, you are a terrible person. But now, I'm going to turn this one to you guys. What do you guys make of this situation? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. And just a huge thank you for being here today, getting involved in the stories, your love, your support, your time. It always means the absolute world to me. So thank you so much. And hopefully, I'm going to see you in the next one. Take care and much love.